the lenders know that this is potentially a high wealth individual, and maybe not today, but will be sometime in the near future.
I'm Vikki Grodner, and I'm the college real estate coach. I'm here today with my husband and partner in real estate crime, Ken Grodner, and we thought it would be interesting to talk about medical students and residents, and they are kind of a unique group of students who will come into a community, and so we really made the effort to lean into that cohort in Birmingham with the University of Alabama in Birmingham. So Ken is really our lead person in Birmingham, and so I wanted to talk to you about what it is that we've been doing with the medical students. But before that, why don't you explain like how we even got involved in all of this? You can talk about UAB and their importance in our community, and then also speak to how in the world did we start selling to medical students?
Well, I'd love to, and thank you for having me on your podcast. So, medical students and UAB. Let's start first with UAB. UAB is the largest employer in the state of Alabama with over 100,000 either direct or indirect employees.
That's incredible.
So liable to bump into one, right?
For sure. No doubt.
Yeah. So we have, and we've been doing a lot more than bumping. But so there's that. And then second is just another word about UAB is the impact that it has, the financial impact on the state of Alabama. Mm-hmm. Over $12 billion in revenue and income in the state of Alabama this past year.
That's amazing.
And the growth has been phenomenal. 2008, it was $4 billion. 9 years later, 2016-17, it doubled from $4 billion to $8 billion, and then another 9 years, another $4 billion. So $12 billion. I mean, I don't even know what $12 billion means, but it means a lot.
So, and that's UAB as a whole, right? But then the medical program and the hospital are such an important part of that as well.
A significant part of that. So we have had the opportunity to sell to medical students and residents and their families for several years now. What we didn't really fully appreciate was the concept of match day. And so we do now.
So let's explain to folks what match day is.
So Match Day, the third Friday in March, every year, students around the country, medical students around the country, not all, but many, and I would say most. Most, match with their next institution, their physician's institution.
Right.
And so we learned in speaking with the students that they actually celebrate all week long.
Yeah, it's really kind of a big deal, right? I mean, you can watch it online as the matching is happening, and it's a little bit like when you see like the sports drafts or the, right?
It is. They come up on stage, right. And they don't even know until that moment. I mean, they have their list of where they would like to go. But they
don't know who's drafting them.
They don't know who's drafting them. That's right. And look, the medical institutions have their list of top students, and the concept of match is just that, matching the students' top choices with the academic medical centers' top choices.
And it's interesting because it makes sense. That's why it has to happen around the country on the same day, right? Because
and fun fact, since Tuscaloosa, where you spend a lot of time, has the largest Greek community, fraternity and sorority, did you know the software that is used to match medical students to the medical institutions is the same software that's used to match sorority girls to sororities?
That's great.
Is that crazy?
That's great.
Yeah.
So yes.
All right.
So getting back to match week or match day and then match week, to your point.
So the students encouraged us actually to do something to help the students, to help the class celebrate the conclusion of their 4-year program and the beginning of their next program. Well, we put our heads together with the students and with Vikki Grodner, our marketing leader, and we came up with a killer event. We rented out the Birmingham Zoo. We fed the elephants. We played with the animals. We celebrated their accomplishments. We gave away lots of fun gifts.
And not just us, but some other sponsors that worked with us, right?
That's right. Other groups that would also like the opportunity to work with medical students, whether those are lenders or they are folks that have apartments in town, or also accountants and lawyers.
Right.
So, okay. So we're at the zoo. We're having a wonderful time.
And that was really social. We had folks there that could provide those information on those resources, but that really wasn't the main purpose of the event. It was
That's
really
right.
to celebrate the students, as you indicated.
And what the students encouraged us to do was to actually have a follow-on event where we could really have a deep dive conversation.
Right.
We rented out the club. We invited the first 30 students and their spouses or significant others to have a more in-depth conversation about
On educational as opposed to social.
an educational as opposed to social. That's right. To talk a bit more about the aspects of purchasing a home, the benefits of saving money, how to go about saving money, the magic of compound interest. We spoke to them about
Which doesn't sound very exciting, but it's pretty exciting when you realize
when
the
you look at the
results.
numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
It is magical, actually.
It is, yes.
We had lenders speaking to them about physicians' loans and what benefits there are for physicians in borrowing money. And so it's really an opportunity for education. And the students indicated they found the conversation really valuable.
Right. So let's go back for a minute about buying real estate versus renting. That's actually a topic we covered in a previous podcast. But is there ever a time that it doesn't make sense for a medical student or a resident to buy real estate in Birmingham or in any market?
That's a great question, and now is the answer applies specifically to medical students and to that community, or new physicians in that community. I would say that in speaking with a lot of the parents, while many were ready to purchase as their son or daughter moved to Birmingham, some preferred to rent at least the first year. They wanted to make sure that the University of Alabama in Birmingham was the right fit, that Birmingham was the right fit, that the program that they're studying is the right fit. And so
And maybe even to get to know the community and the neighborhoods, right? Like they
That
might
is-
not have known to buy here, and they should have really bought here. So
right, another good reason.
yes,
So that would be one. But on the other hand, when you're coming to a program that's 6, 7, 8 years, like the oral surgeons that you've been selling to for years,
Right.
or to the MD PhD program,
Right.
well, that's a different story. That's an opportunity to go ahead and buy.
true. And I mean, we do find it interesting because we sometimes have, again, parents or residents who buy and then go ahead and hold on to that property once they have finished living there, whether they stay in Birmingham or they don't, because they then can have it as an investment or a rental property. So we've seen some of that activity as well.
We certainly have. I mean, they feel like they made the home or the condo special.
Right.
And so they've added value. And two, they want to begin to build their wealth through real estate with some rental income. And so we actually helped a travel nurse who came to Birmingham, stayed for a couple of years, and then took a permanent position in California. We helped her to rent her condo, and she's thrilled.
That's great. That's great. So when we talk about people buying real estate, obviously lenders are most often involved. And there are some lenders that have specific loans for medical professionals, doctors, but other kinds of medical professionals as well, that have some really unique benefits to them. Well, I know you're not a lender. I know you've worked with folks who have used that product before. So can you talk about that a little bit as well, and kind of what those loans look like, and why they're of interest to medical professionals, and why, by the way, that community is of interest to the lenders?
Will do. So let's start with the last part first. The lenders know that this is potentially a high wealth individual, and maybe not today, but will be sometime in the near future. As a result, there are programs that have been designed to help them address the challenges that they may have at this moment in their financial career. And so what are those challenges? Well, the first one would be potentially student debt. With the doctor's loan...
Perhaps the biggest one, yes.
Perhaps the biggest.
Yes.
So with the doctor's loan or the physician's loan, and it's not just physicians. I mean, it's vets, it's podiatrists. It could be, physician assistants. So
right, physical therapist. I've had a physical therapist who bought before using this.
That's right. That's right. So student debt, they will not count the student debt in their calculation of debt to income, DTI, debt to income. So what is debt to income? It's the relationship of the monthly debt to the monthly gross income. Let's use an example of $60,000. $60,000 is what new physicians are paid. Residents are being paid in Birmingham.
And around the country, actually, which is pretty interesting to me, that it's kind of a baseline. So most residents around the country are making that amount of money, which is interesting when you think about somebody who's maybe trying to make those dollars stretch in Chicago or Los Angeles as opposed to in Birmingham.
That's right.
But regardless, it's not a lot of money in today's current times.
That's right. So $60,000 would be $5,000 a month. And then that 36% debt ratio would be $1,800. So the most that they could have, including their mortgage, is $1,800 a month. Wow. That really doesn't give them a lot of room. But for this physician's loan, they'll increase that ratio from 36 to 50. That's another $700 a month. So they can have as much as $2,500 in debt, excluding student loans, against an income that is their standard income. That's benefit number one. Benefit number two is low, or in some cases no down payment. That's pretty special.
Right.
Benefit number three is oftentimes when we have our conventional clients with low down payments, they have PMI, the private mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance is generally about 1%. It varies from 0.5% to 1.5%. So
and that's true when a borrower has less than
5-10% down. 20%.
Right, 20. Right.
Has less than 20%.
Right.
That's right.
So that's where this PMI comes into play.
Right. The insurance is to protect the lender in the event that the borrower defaults. And that fee is between 0.5% and 1.5%. So on a $300,000 loan, that's on average about $250 a month.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of
especially if
money.
you're making $5,000 a month using that as your baseline.
That's right. So just to recap, low to no down payment, no PMI, no student loan, and a debt to income ratio that is well beyond standards.
So there are a couple other ways I think that people can qualify for a loan if they're a medical student or a resident. And those would be if they're married and have a spouse that can also be, their salary can be calculated in, and then also parents or some other kind of cosigner. Have you seen a lot of that?
I have. We've seen probably more of those two examples. So in the medical match criteria, oftentimes the institution is gracious enough if they have both a husband and wife that are physicians to match in the same city. So we had an outbound student and their spouse heading to Baltimore.
Okay.
Not the same institution, but the same city.
Right.
And the two of them, with their combined income, were able to get a home this year.
Right.
So that's a great example. And the other one is absolutely the parents are delighted to help. They're probably helping on the rent. Might as well have that money. But, the expression is might as well pay on their mortgage versus somebody else's mortgage.
Right, which is what we say when people are renting.
That's right.
So, and then you've talked about our medical match week initiatives and that sort of thing, and some of the other programs we've done. But any other programs or plans going forward to help integrate new residents or medical students into the Birmingham community?
Well, yes, there are in excess of 100 inbound. Some are here, some will be here in the next several weeks. And we are working with the student leaders to plan events welcoming them to Birmingham and sharing with them everything Birmingham has to offer, whether it's regarding restaurants, vets,
Right.
where to get their haircut.
Right.
Could be wellness programs, fitness
So
programs.
resources, to introduce resources and make their transition a little easier.
That's right.
So thank you, Ken, for being with us and talking about medical students and residents. I'm Vikki Grodner, and I'm the College Real Estate Coach.